Hello everyone, welcome to another review on the channel, this time on Star Wars Jedi Survivor. I have never seen such a good game being brought down by performance and technical issues. It's really appalling. Reminds me a bit of the Batman Arkham Knight PC disaster launch, but in Jedi Survivor's case it's widespread. PC took the bulk of the impact, but it's really bad everywhere. This is the standard for 2023 PC ports and games in general. Instead of delaying and delivering a well-polished product, publishers want the money as soon as possible, and then write a Twitter or a blog post apology saying how sorry they are and how they plan to fix the performance issues and bugs over the coming weeks and months after launch. It's the standard nowadays. I'm not kidding. Let's take PR hit, but get the money as fast as possible and then promise to fix the game in the weeks after. It's unreal, and the fact that people let it slide, this will keep happening over and over again. Sorry a bit for this ramble at the start of the video, but it's just ludicrous that this is happening in 2023 and publishers don't even care. A Twitter apology is all it takes to appease consumers. With that out of the way, I gotta say I clocked in my Star Wars Jedi Survivor playthrough at 80 hours. I got every single achievement and I explored every little piece of content the game has to offer. Honestly, I haven't had this much fun in a Star Wars game since KOTOR 2. Fallen Order was a great game, but Jedi Survivor surpasses it in every way. Every season was expanded and there are new additions to the formula. It's not really all rainbows and sunshine. There are some questionable decisions in some parts of the combat and gameplay systems, but the overall package is really quite good. Let's go over the different sections and check how Jedi Survivor did across the board, shall we? Story. Overall, I think the story here is a bit stronger than the one in Fallen Order, but it never really hits the big highs of the prequel or original movies from Star Wars. I'm not speaking about the modern Star Wars woke bullshit movies that have been coming out. I don't even watch those. Those are dumpster fire. Cal Kestis here on this game is a bit more mature, more ardent. He's a full-fledged Jedi basically, and it's noticeable in the way that he makes decisions, in the way that he acts and his reasonings. Jedi Survivor continues a few months after Fallen Order, or years, I didn't really get this, and the crew is basically all separated, everyone went their own way. Cal keeps fighting the Empire with the help of Saw Gerrera, and whilst he's on a mission in Coruscant, things take a dark turn and he has to fix the Mantis because it has been really ravaged. So he goes back to Greece to fix the Mantis. Whilst there, he finds hope in the fight against the Empire and he awakens a power from the Old Republic. The Empire loses its spotlight a bit for a while in this game, and the new faction becomes the de facto main antagonistic force. There is betrayal, fight against darkness and own darkness, grief, death, and it's a really good package in terms of story. Some risks are taken in trying to develop story twists and they are very well delivered. But overall, when you look at the big scope, few things have changed from the point you started the story to where it ended. I think Respawn should be a bit more bold in its storytelling. I don't know how limited they are by Disney, but I think they should go all out and deliver as a truly engaging story without any breaks. I'm not saying that what's here is bad or just okay, it's actually pretty good. But the Star Wars universe is so big, I think it could have gone from good to freaking epic. That's my 2 cents on the story part. And if you really want an epic storyline, I mean the Old Republic, I love KOTOR 1 and KOTOR 2, especially KOTOR 1. So those are the best Star Wars stories that I've seen. And this Jedi Survivor and Fallen Order, they take place after the prequels. I mean, there's not too much that you can do there, so I wish that Respawn just, either goes to the Old Republic side and does a new game on the Star Wars universe, or they go after the original movies. I don't know, but I think it's getting stale a bit on the story side from on the period that they are going to explore here. But I'm rambling a bit. On to progressions and traversal systems. There are new additions here from Fallen Order and they are quite good. You keep everything that you basically learn from Fallen Order. There is no bullshit amnesia where you have to relearn everything. But Respawn really had to stretch out their creative wings to bring more to the pool here, and it's noticeable. They are starting to lack a bit, at least on the skill tree side. That's the nature of sequels, and without a loophole in the story where something happens to the character that makes him or her have to relearn everything from the first game, developers have to be a bit more creative and in delivering new powers, new skills, and in the Star Wars universe that can get a bit stale. In terms of power progression, there are 3 skill tree categories: lightsaber, where you can get new moves for the stance that you are using. There is a force skill tree where you can upgrade all your force abilities like pull, push, confuse, slam, and lastly the survival skill tree where you can basically raise your HP and how fast you can regen, how much you can regen, the usual stuff. There are a variety of ways to get skill points. One of them is to look for force essences, which may reward you with the full skill point, or you can just kill enemies, find databank logs, force echoes. All of that will increase your XP toward a new skill point. In Jedi Survivor, the developers also added a new system pretty much akin to what you would see in Hollow Knight and Metroidvanias in general, which is perks. You have a limited number of perk slots. As you explore the world, you'll find new perk slots in force essences and by doing Jedi chambers. And in the same fashion, you'll find new perks that will boost damage of a particular stance, for example lightsaber throws or blaster fire damage. There is a wide array of perks to choose from. Some are locked behind shops, where you need to find treasures in order to pay for them. Returning from Fallen Order are cosmetics instead of actual gear with stats, and like in the first game, you'll be roaming around the different planets looking for chests, which will give you new gear pieces, new blaster and lightsaber pieces, and a new addition, which is beard and hair options. I'm not a fan of this, wasn't in Fallen Order, and I'm not in Jedi Survivor. Apart from treasures and actual lore databanks coupled with force echoes and force essences, I don't see a motive to explore unless you want to 100% the game, which was what I did as a completionist at heart. For non-completionists, I don't see the incentive. Why bother, right? You won't get a legendary piece of loot that will boost all your stats or change the way you approach combat by giving your lightsaber, I don't know, strikes, a new powerful ability like you would see in an ARPG or for example Diablo or something like that. I mean, these would be cool, and it would incentivize the players to actually go and look for these chests. Otherwise, you just did a 2-minute platforming section to get a new haircut. Like, what the fuck? Traversal wise, Respawn flexed their creative muscles and actually delivered satisfying new traversal options. There's parkour, platforming, it feels very good, and credit to the developers. While running, double jumping, dashing mid-air combos are extremely rewarding and really speak to the agility and ability of Cal in the game. Couple that with the inclusion of combo matter and a BD, which is a BD1 ability to spray some kind of matter that will unlock new pathways. There's also an electricity kind of switch where you can use BD1 to open a door or a platforming bit so you can reach a new section. A new addition is also the grapple and the balloons later in the game. Just makes the game even more dynamic in finding paths and explore locations that you weren't able to explore before. After you get all these new traversal tools, it's super rewarding to just do platforming. It really is. Platforming is really good in the game, and Respawn, coming from Titanfall and wall running, the parkour, they are masters at this, and it really shows in this game. Also, I think they outdid themselves. None of the backtracking feels forced. It makes sense to explore these new locations, and it's also put in a story perspective. It's not only like a Metroidvania thing, so you're just gonna go back now and do everything. No, sometimes you get these new traversal skills, and the story pushes you to go to those new locations using those new skills. Speaking of combat, there isn't much to add to combat if you played Jedi Fallen Order. As I mentioned before, you have new stances, a blaster stance, which as the name says, it gives you a blaster on one end and a lightsaber on the other, and it's kind of a mix between range and close quarters combat. Then you have the crossguard, which is a two-handed wield of the lightsaber that does tons of damage, but it's slower. With that, you can combine, of course, your lightsaber, close quarters combat with force abilities like pull, push, slam, and the new confuse ability, which will let you turn enemies to your side. combat is overall super fun, fluid, dynamic. There are a lot of options given to you in how you want to approach it, but I'll say that some combat encounters don't play well to how combat in general was designed. Especially small arenas with big enemies, sometimes even with your double jump, the dash, the dodge. It's like you will rely a bit on RNG in terms of enemy positioning, and especially hitboxes to win those encounters on the hardest difficulty, which is Grandmaster difficulty. And that's a big problem here, which is hitboxes. They are all over the place, especially for enemy moves that you can parry or block, and you absolutely need to dodge. These enemies are crazy big, and sometimes the hitboxes are way off. Like, the enemy isn't actually near you, and you are already getting hit or teleported into their hands for a special move. It feels off. It feels off, and they need to fix it. Despite some minor annoyances, combat is what keeps you going most of the time. Sure, the story is good, and the platforming along with the parkour feels super refreshing, but the combat is just a step above the other systems. I don't want to mention that enemy design and enemy variety as a whole also received a big boost from Fallen Order. There is a wider range of enemies, from droids to humanoid enemies, not only from the Empire but also other factions. I really thought they outdid themselves when it came to enemy variety and even boss variety. Now, speaking of world and the soundtrack, one of the things that I really cherished in this Star Wars is this sort of hub that you can get early on in the game, and it just keeps evolving and evolving as you play more and more. You can recruit people that you meet when you are out exploring to join this sort of hub, and each time you visit you will have new conversations which will unlock rumors and new features. I think Respawn had a good idea here and implemented it well. I don't want to bring Anthem as an example, but think of the hub in Anthem. And this hub, which is a saloon, will always have new dialogue from NPCs each time you visit the planet again, or a specific amount of in-game time passes. The more you talk with these NPCs, the more you learn about them, and their own stories take place in real time. Jedi Survivor has 5 planets which you can visit. Some are bigger than others, but I was truly surprised by the scope and explorable terrain in 2 of them. They are massive, and Respawn recognizing that implemented mounts which are useful. They will help you traverse these huge stretches of land. The environments are completely different from one planet to the other. I won't spoil here, but they are incredibly grandiose and they feel like truly lived in worlds. As for the soundtrack, I want to say that you're probably listening to it while you are watching the video. This is the soundtrack. It's made by Stephen Barton and Gordy Hab. I mean, I think they really captured the Star Wars universe tracks. I mean, even on your hub that I was speaking, you have an option to put some tracks there. You can even loot tracks on chests, and you can buy them from shop vendors. And there is a specific track during the game that you can buy, and you can ask this droid to play in this hub that you visit. It's really good. It all feels like Star Wars, you know, the music, the tunes. I would say that this is very similar to Hogwarts Legacy. It's like the developers really know, the sound designers, the people that made the soundtrack, they know what they are doing. They are focusing on the Star Wars universe, just like on the Hogwarts you have those nostalgic tunes, those nostalgic soundtracks. Here it's the same. I would say it's even more focused than Fallen Order, and you notice it. You really notice it. It feels like you are in a Star Wars planet, you are in a Star Wars universe. So kudos to the devs for this. Final thoughts and score. I'll be brief. Jedi Survivor is an amazing sequel to Fallen Order that expands it in every way possible, and although Respawn doesn't totally nail it, especially on creating rewarding loot systems and fine-tuning combat, it's still a fantastic Star Wars package. All of this goodwill gained and well-crafted changes, though, are then burned due to abysmal performance and an insane amount of bugs. I would recommend Jedi Survivor in its full price when all the issues have been ironed out and performance is super stable. Right now, I would say stay clear of this game, especially on PC, and check back, I don't know, in 2-3 months. The developers, I've seen like so far 2-3 patches on PC. It's still not good. I tested it on my side, and even with the 4090 I get around like 60 FPS. I do have ray tracing turned on and everything maxed out, but it's still still crazy with the best graphics card on the market. You can run this game at 100 FPS plus. That's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this one. It was a long playthrough, almost double the time that I spent on Fallen Order. I checked, it's a big game. You can expect like a retrospective review on every reign in the coming days, as I have been playing it, and I am close to finishing. So have a good one, guys, and expect more content in the channel for this week. Have a good one.